Hello, grade 8. Welcome to another video lesson. Today we're only going to review chapters 11.4 to 11.7. We're not going to learn anything new, but before we continue, I have an announcement to make. That is, there will be a live video lesson, live online lesson actually, tomorrow, which is Friday, day 2. Online tomorrow during your normal math lesson time, which means 8C, you will have your live online lesson at 8:05 a.m. and then 8D, you will have your lesson at 3 p.m. This lesson is supposed to be mandatory. You are expected to show up, and attendance will be taken. More instructions will be posted. No, more instructions have already been posted on PowerSchool. If you're watching this video today, Thursday, then please note that down. And also, I have put the instructions on PowerSchool. Please click on the Zoom link to join my online lesson at the specific time. If you are worried, 8C, that you cannot wake up early enough, then please set an alarm so that you can wake up early enough to have breakfast and then join the video lesson, online live lesson. Whether or not we will continue this will be up to the senior leaders of the school, but so far we will have at least one online live lesson per week. So this will be on Friday tomorrow. Okay, so let's get on with our review for chapters 11.4 to 11.7. So in 11.4, we talked about the area of a parallelogram. So what is a parallelogram? I'm just going to quickly sketch it out for you. This is a parallelogram where the opposite sides are parallel to each other. And so the area of a parallelogram is fairly simple. So the area is equal to the base times the height. What do I mean by base? Base is any side that you want to define. So right now I'm going to define this side. Let's say that this is 10 meters as the base. And so the height will be the perpendicular distance from the base, from one base to the top of the base, the perpendicular height. It has to be 90 degrees. So that is the height. And let's say the height is 3 meters. And so if we look at this example, example 1, the area is equal to 10 meters times 3 meters, which is equal to 30 meters squared. Fairly simple. Now, sometimes the height is not as easy, is not as obvious as you think. So, for example, this is still example 1, a parallelogram, but let's say this is 1A and then this is 1B. I have a parallelogram over here. It doesn't look like a parallelogram, but let's just say it is. And then I have a dotted line over here. And let's just say that this top is 6 meters. 6 meters. And then we also have this dotted line here is 6 meters, and that this is a right angle. And then we also have 10 meters that is going this way. Now, remember, the area of a parallelogram is base times height. Do we have the height? Well, if I set 10 meters as the base, that means the height will have to be the perpendicular distance. But is it easy to find this one? No, it's not. So 10 meters will not be the base. Instead, I'm going to use 6 meters because I can just put that down here. as 6 meters because it's a parallelogram. Those two are the same. So 6 meters is my base. I'm going to write that down. Base is equal to 6 meters. Now, what is the height? The height has to be the perpendicular distance. That means a 90 degree perpendicular distance from the bottom all the way to the top. So that's the height from here to here. Okay, so it has to be perpendicular that way. That's 90 degrees. And so this is actually the same as this height over here. Now, how do we find this height? Well, it just so happens that this dotted triangle over here is a right angle triangle. And if we remember how to find the lengths of a right angle triangle, we can use Pythagoras theorem. So let me just first label this side as h. And so I can write down an equation. 6 squared plus h squared. Now remember, for Pythagoras theorem, the two legs, okay, it has to be the non-hypotenuse sides, not the diagonal side. It is the two sides which form a right angle, the two sides which form the right angle, which is 6 and h. 6 squared plus h squared is equal to 10 squared, and then that means h squared is equal to 100 minus 36, which means that h squared is equal to 64. 64 happens to be a perfect square number, which means that h is equal to plus or minus 8. And since the height cannot be negative, we can omit the negative 8, which means that the height is only 8 meters. Now that we found the height, we have the base, we can now find the area. So the area is equal to 6 times 8, which is 48 meters squared. So in this case, this parallelogram's area was a little bit more difficult to find because we have to first find h using Pythagoras theorem. Okay, so that's parallelograms. Moving on to 11.5. Yes, 11.5. 11.5 is areas of triangle and trapezoid. So let me quickly go through area of triangle. That's fairly simple. With a triangle that looks like this, we have a base, and we also have a perpendicular height h. Now remember, the height has to be, height is always perpendicular to the base. Okay, so if I have a triangle like this and I say that this is 10 meters and this is 6 meters, then we cannot use the 6 meters as the height. 6 meters is not the height. Okay, is there a way for us to find the area of this triangle? For now, at grade 8, no, you cannot find it because it is not a right angle triangle. But once you get to grade 11 and you start learning about some cosine laws and sine laws, then maybe you can find the areas of those. So moving back to our area, let's go for an example. Example 2. So I'm going to start off with a simple example. Using this triangle over here, we have a base of 12 meters, and the vertical height over here is going to be 5 meters. And so oh, I forgot to write down the area, the formula. So the area is base times height divided by 2. That is the area of a triangle. Remember this: base times height divided by 2. Base times height divided by 2. If you forget what is the area of a triangle, start off with a rectangle and then draw a diagonal. And remember, the area of a rectangle is the base times the height. Base times the height. And since we only need half of this, all we need to do is divide it by 2. Base times height divided by 2. So that's the area of a triangle. So getting back to our example, the area is equal to 12 times 5 divided by 2. 2 and 12 can cancel out. That becomes 6. Simplify. And so the area is going to be 6 times 5, which is 30 meters squared. So that is the area of the first triangle. Now, with the second triangle, I'm going to try to be a little bit more, let me change things up a bit. Let's say our triangle looks like this. And then, this distance over here is 8 meters. And then let's also say that this, I'm going to draw a dotted, or I'm going to draw a gray line over here. And then I'm going to say that this distance over here is, let me just say that it is 6 meters. I know this diagram is not drawn to scale. And then, let me see, how else can I make this a little bit not as straightforward? Oh yeah. And let's say, okay, final one. This over here is 2 meters. Okay, and so we want to find the area. Find the area of the triangle. The triangle, this one over here. And so we have to find the base, and then we also have to find the height. First of all, do we have a base? We can, well, 8 is not the base because it is just the length from here to here. That's not a base. And so the base that we have, that we can find, is actually this over here. And because this other side is 6, we have this side is 2, which means that our base is going to be 6 minus 2, which is 4 meters. Now that we have the base, which one is the height? The height is going to be, height is equal to this one over here, which is 8 meters. So now all we have to do is substituting the values to find the area. So area is equal to base times height, 4 times 8 divided by 2. 2 and 8 can simplify into 4, and so 4 times 4 is 16 meters squared. So we have an area of 16 meters squared. So that's how you find the area of a little bit more complicated triangle. Now, I'm going to go into a word question this time. We're given the area of a triangle is 18 meters squared. Let me change it. 24 meters squared. And so, if the height of the triangle is 6 meters, find the base length of the triangle. Okay, so we have a word question. We are given the area, we are given the height, and what we have to do is find the base. And so let's write down the equation. Area is equal to base times height divided by 2, and then all we have to do is substitute in the values. 24 is the area that goes in here. The height of 6 meters goes there, and then let's write in what we have. 24 is equal to base, which is unknown, we don't know that, we have to find it, times 6 divided by 2. I can simplify 6 and 2, that becomes 3, and then I can use cross multiplication to bring the 3 down to the other side. And so the base is equal to 24 over 3, which is 8 meters. Okay, so the base is 8 meters. 24 divided by 3 is 8. And then that's it. So let's move on to trapezoids. What is a trapezoid? This is a trapezoid, where we have a base 1, we have a base 2, and we also have a height. Okay, so let's move on straight into an example. Let's say that the base 1 here is 10 meters and our base 2 here is 6 meters, and we have a height of 3 meters. So area of a trapezoid, area is equal to base 1 plus base 2 in a bracket times the height divided by 2. You will have to remember this equation for the trapezoid. It's base 1 plus base 2 times h, base 1 plus base 2 in a bracket times h divided by 2. So let's put this values into our equation. The area here is equal to 6 meters plus 10 meters in a bracket. So that's base 2 plus base 1 or base 1 plus base 2. All of this times the height divided by 2. So that will be 10 plus 6 is 16 times 3 divided by 2. 16 and 2 can simplify. That's 8 times 3. And so the area is equal to 24 meters squared. So that is a trapezoid. Sometimes let's go into a word problem as well. So that's a very simple one. The word problems usually is they will give you the area. So the area of a trapezoid is, let's say it's 48 square feet. Find the, so if the height of the trapezoid is 6 meters, feet, 6 feet, and one of the bases is 8 feet, find the, let me change that to 4 feet. The height is 4 feet, one of the bases is 8 feet, find the length of the other base. Okay, so we are given a word problem. The area is 48, the height is 4, one of the bases is 8, and so let's plug in all these values into our equation. A is equal to b1 plus b2 in a bracket times h divided by 2. What do we have? We have 48 as the area, we have 4 feet as the height, and then we've got 8 as one of the bases. And then we have to find the other base. So let's plug all those values in. 48 is equal to 8 plus b2 in a bracket times 4 divided by 2. Now what I'm going to do first is let's just quickly simplify this, and then I'm going to move 2 to the bottom using cross multiplication. So 48 divided by 2, that's going to be 24, is equal to 8 plus b2. And then what I do now is 8, when I move it to the other side, by taking away both sides by 8, it becomes minus 8. So 24 minus 8 is equal to b2, which means that b2 is 16 meters. Okay, so we have, that's how you find the other base. Okay, that's 11.6. Is that right? 11.5. So we have 2 more chapters to go. I'll try to speed things up. 11.6 will be circumference of circle. So if I have a circle over here, and then I also have a radius, the circumference, which is the distance around the circle, that is the distance around, is going to be c is equal to 2 times pi times the radius. Okay, or you can simplify this as 2 pi r. Now if we remember, diameter is twice the radius. because it is all the way across rather than just halfway. And so we can also say that diameter is equal to 2 times radius. So we can actually put that into here, and so we can get an alternate form. This is one of the forms. Circumference is 2 pi r. There is an alternate form for circumference, which is equal to pi times the diameter, pi d. So there are two ways of finding circumference. Either you use 2 pi r, or you can do pi d, depending on what the question gives you. So let's go straight into an example. I lost count of which example I'm on, so I'm just going to say example. So find the circumference of a circle with radius of 6 meters. Okay, so C is equal to 2 times, and I'm going to say pi is equal to 3.14. Okay, 2 times pi times 6 meters. Pi is 3.14, so I can substitute that in. 2 times 3.14 times 6 meters. That is going to give you a circumference. Use a calculator. 2 times 3.14 times 6, 37.68 meters. So that's fairly simple. Now, sometimes the question will tell you to find the radius when given the circumference. So this is example 2 of our circumference. The circumference of a circle is 48. Let me make a better one. Let's say that it is 100.48 meters. Okay, and you'll notice later why I use 100.48. Okay, so the circumference of a circle is 100.48 meters. Find the radius and the diameter of the circle. Okay, so we have to plug in the circumference into our equation and find either the radius first, or we can find the diameter first. Which one do I want? This time I'll show you using the other equation, which is circumference equals to pi times d, pi d. And so let's plug in our values. 100.48 is equal to 3.14 times the unknown diameter. I'm going to divide 100.48 by 3.14 by cross multiplication, which means that d is equal to 100.48 over 3.14. Put that into your calculator. 100.48 divided by 3.14, and you would get the diameter is equal to 32 meters. And so if the diameter is 32 meters, the radius is half of that, which means that radius is equal to 16 meters. And that's it. So that's circumference, fairly simple. Let's move on to the next topic, which is 11.7, area of circle. Now, if in a circle, if the radius over here, let's say we have a radius over here, the area of a circle is equal to pi times, in bracket, r squared. Now, the reason I put a bracket is I don't want you to accidentally square the pi as well, because the square only applies to the radius and not the pi. So remember this equation, area is equal to pi r squared. And so when you do this, let's go straight into an example. Let's say that the radius here in this example is 8 meters, for example. So area will be 3.14 times 8 squared. And so we have to do 8 squared first, which is 64. So area is equal to 3.14 times 64. And then you put it into your calculator. 64 times 3.14, you would get 200.96 meters squared. So that is the area of a circle. Okay, so that's fairly simple. Sometimes you will need to find the radius when given the area. So let me go straight into a word problem, and this will be the last question. This will be a two-part question. So actually, let me do something different. Yeah, so instead of finding the radius from the area, I will give you something else. So the distance around a circular garden is, let me find a nice number. 50.24 meters. Okay, so the distance around a circular garden is 50.24 meters. And then the question asks you in part A, find the radius of the garden. And then part B, find the area of the garden. So from the distance around the circular garden, we have to find both the radius and the area. Well, distance around means circumference. Okay, so you need to be able to see the question and understand what is given. That is the circumference, which means that C is equal to 50.24. If we're going to put in the equation, circumference is equal to 2 times pi times r. That's what we need to find, and we're going to substitute in the values. So 50.24 is equal to 2 times 3.14 times r. I'm going to first do 2 times 3.14, which is going to be 6.28 times r. And then I'm going to cross multiply and bring this to the bottom, which means that r is equal to 50.24 divided by 6.28. And then once I do that, put it into your calculator, 50.24 divided by 6.28, you would get the radius is equal to 8 meters. And then from this is part A. Then we need to do part B, find the area of the garden. The area will be area is equal to pi times radius squared. And so once we put that in, area is equal to 3.14 times 8 squared. Then this is actually the same as before. So that is just 200.96 meters squared. Okay, so that is it for the review. Don't forget about the announcement at the very beginning that there will be a live online lesson tomorrow, Friday, 14th February, day 2. 8C is 8:05 a.m. and 8D is 3 p.m. You are expected to show up. Attendance will be taken. Please do remind your classmates, okay? Remind your classmates. If you have a WhatsApp group, please put it in your WhatsApp group. And if someone seems to be missing in action, then please do give them a personal message and tell them that they have to show up. Okay? And your homework for today, will be catch up on all previous work. Which means that if you've already done all the work, then you have no homework. If you haven't finished all the work, then please use today to finish all the other work to catch up. And that's it for today's lesson. I'll hopefully see most of you in the live online lesson tomorrow.